Hello everyone, this video is the first part of a series I'm doing on quick and simple web projects that you can do yourself to practice your software development skills. The aim of this series is to focus less on what you're building and more just on the general process of creating a website or a web app from the design through to publishing. First up, I've got a very simple website that is just a landing page for a mobile app. I made a mobile app about a year ago to help me remember when to take the bins out onto the street. So I'm just going to make a web page for this that has a picture of the app and a link to the App Store for iPhone version and a link to Google Play for the Android version. That's it. It's going to be responsive and I'm going to host it on a domain that I bought. The first stage in building anything is to write down your requirements. So I'm going to open up a new Google Doc in Google Drive and call it Marketing Page Requirements. And what we're going to put in here is the things that we want our marketing web page to have. So we want it to be with all the content above the fold. So what that means is the links to the Google Play App Store and the iPhone App Store, and also the name of the app and a picture are all going to be in the section of the screen that's visible when you first visit the page. So you don't have to scroll down for any of that stuff. So that's a good requirement. We're also going to say that we want links to Google Play and to iStore. Is it called the iStore? I don't actually have an iPhone, but whatever it's called. We've got those two, and we want a picture of the app, like a screenshot. Let's call it a screenshot. And we also want it to be responsive. Now remember, we're building a mobile app landing page. So chances are a lot of people landing on this will be doing so on their devices. So really we want to be building it not just responsive, but actually mobile first. So we'll build the mobile first design and then we'll go back and make it look good on a desktop pretty much afterwards. So that's good. We've got our requirements. The other thing I usually add on here is out of scope. So what don't we want it to do? And this is important because this stops us going down rabbit holes. So it stops us starting to build something that we actually didn't really need. So it's good to sit at the start, just sit here and think about what we don't need. So things that are going to be out of scope, we're not going to have any page analytics. We can add that on later, but for start we're not going to bother with that. We're not going to have more than one page, so we're only going to have one page, which means no sitemap, no robots.txt at this stage, nothing really, just one page. And then out of scope, we could probably say we don't need any animations at this stage, we'll be alright, just, no JavaScript basically. So there we go. Right, that's our requirements written down with this Google Doc. If anything, it's more of just the process of writing this down that matters, just to get it visualized and see it in front of you. The next step is to go on to choose our tech stack so that it covers all of these requirements. Now I do have another video all about the process of choosing a tech stack, but for now let's just say we want to go super simple with this. Just an HTML page and some CSS for the styling. We probably won't even need any JavaScript. If you look over the requirements on here, nothing on there really needs dynamic content or anything like that. So simple HTML and CSS will cover these requirements nicely. So to create a new HTML page, just simply create a new file somewhere and call it index.html. Now we're going to want some boilerplate in there, things like the HTML tag and the body tag and all that sort of stuff. The quickest way to do this is to just go on the internet and Google for HTML5 boilerplate. There we go. And we'll take, here you go, html5boilerplate.com. Let's see what's on here. It's a zip file. Oh dear, can't bother with that. Let's try this. Use this HTML5 boilerplate. There we go. That looks perfect. Okay, so we've got the doc type, we've got the HTML tag, the head tag, some meta tags, which we'll get to in a second, and then the body tag where we're not going to have a script file because our requirements don't need scripts, but we'll put our HTML inside this body here. So let's go ahead and copy this to our new HTML file, and then straight away we can remove the script tag. What I'm going to do is just open this in Chrome, so that we can see. Oh, I don't have any way of opening that. Let's put the spotty wrong. So we can see our page here. So that's a blank HTML page. The first thing we can do is, you can see the title here, HTML5 boilerplate. So what I'll do is I'll update the title to be the name of my app, which is bin day app. If I just save and go back to the page and push F5, refresh, then we can see the title's updated to say bin day app. We can also just put some content in here, so we can say this is the content. We'll overwrite this obviously in the future, but there we go. This is the content. So these meta tags are just setting up for a standard viewport, and they're setting the character set, and then there's a title of our page and a link to a style sheet. Now we haven't got a style sheet yet, so we can just go ahead and create one. We called it style.css. Oops, that's the name of the text inside. There we go. And then here we can just put body, just to see if it works, background color, blue. So there you go, that's loading style.css, and the style.css is making the background color blue. So if we go back to Chrome and push F5, we've got a blue background. So at least now we know that our styles are loading up, and we can edit our page, and we can go from here. Now we have a blank page, HTML page set up. The next thing you'd normally reach for will be some image assets so that we can begin assembling the page. Assets means images or any other files that we want to place on our website and serve from the same place as our web page. Since this is a landing page for an app, then I've got the app on both the App Store and Google Play. Then I need those two little badges. You have that link out to download the app from those two individual app stores. So to get those badges, I'm just going to go to Google and type App Store Badge. And then take this link right here, marketing resources for the App Store. And then I'll do the same thing for Google Play. Google Play badge, play badges. So here we go, we can do download. We've got a black one and we've got a white one as well. For Google Play, we've got just a black one. That's okay. So let's get our preferred badge. There's an asset here. Let's go for download on the App Store. That sounds like the one we want. Agrees to the license. Obviously I will read that. I probably already read it. And we're going to pop this into the folder, which is where we're building our application. So that'll be in here. I'm just going to put this into here. There we go. Download on the App Store.zip, and then the same for Google Play. Where's the download link for this? Okay, after a little bit of Googling around and moving things about, we've got a download on the App Store SVG for Apple. And we've got a download on the Google Play Store SVG for Google Play. I do have a separate video on the 4 most common types of image formats that you should definitely learn about, so please check that out in the meantime. And downloaded some other stuff here that we don't necessarily need. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to rename these to be a little bit more easy to understand. So I'll call that App Store Badge, and then I'll call this Google Play Badge. There we go. And I should be able to reference those on the page as well. So if I go in here into this body, this is the content. And if I put an image tag for App Store Badge, oh look, it's there nicely auto-completed for me. And I'll put an image tag for the play badge as well. And you should always put alts on image tags. This is an accessibility thing. You've got to think that people could come to your landing page with screen readers or with other browsers that don't necessarily display the images. So it's important to put alts for those people to make sure that anybody can view the page for your app. So I'm going to put this as an App Store Badge as the description for the alt. And then if we just refresh this page here, we should be able to see that we've got our 2 badges. So So as well as having these two logos, I've also got a screenshot from the app that I'm going to put on the website as well. So I've got that here, and I'll save this to the same folder and call it screenshot. And let's just check that we can put a screenshot on. So that's a PNG. Okay, there we go. There's our screenshot and our two Google Play buttons. There's no styling yet. We'll get into a styling in a minute. In fact, this is a good place to start talking about styling. Because styling is the exciting part, right? This is when you really start to see it come to life. When it comes to designing a landing page like this, the way I see it, you have three options. You either need to be a brilliant graphics designer, you could use a framework like Tailwind CSS, or you could do what I do and reverse engineer a design that you love on the internet. So what do I mean by that? Well, basically, you spend some time online looking for app landing pages that are trying to achieve the same thing as you're trying to achieve. And then you work out what it is that you like about them, and then just, take inspiration from them. So let me show you what I mean. If I go on here and I just type in app landing page, and you can use Google Images for this. I'll just go through and I'll be like, oh, these are all quite nice. I like this. I like this with the image and some sort of vector art behind it, and then the name of the app and the get started. Let's go for some of these are quite designed. I wouldn't be able to do that because I'm not a graphics designer. This is quite nice. It's just a simple background with some geometric shapes and the two links here. Now this is interesting. This is what I mean reverse engineering, right? I can see from this that the color scheme is really just one color with different varying amounts of the value. That's the darkness. And they've also just got this generic shape. So I like this, and I could replicate this using mine. My screenshot is really just green and white. So I could do something here with green and white. Here we go. Here's another one here. Get the app today, download for iOS, download for Android. Notice these two actually break the style guide for iOS and Android, because it does say on this tab here, you should always put the image, don't just write download from iOS. So there we go. But I think for what we're going to try and do, you see this geometric shape thing, this is occurring again here. I quite like this, this is good. But I think what I'm going to do for mine is just have this sort of thing, like a rendered picture of a phone with the app on it, because it's quite a simple screenshot. Here's a screenshot. So I'll just have like a picture of a phone with a screenshot on it and the buttons on here that say download for iOS and download for Google Play, a bit like this one. And then I'll put the name of the app. I won't have any menus because again, we've only got one page. So I think I'm going to use this as the example. This is actually from the Best Landing Page Template Designs 2022. So let's see if we can find it on here. Now I did say before that we're going to make this mobile first. Frustratingly, all of these templates don't seem to be mobile first, they seem to be desktop first. But perhaps if we could open one of these live and we'll be able to see is there a live demo of this? Because sometimes you can use, here we go, live preview. And then what I'll do is I'll open up the live preview and then F12 and put it into mobile mode, and I'll be able to see what the live preview of this looks like mobile first. I mean, this is okay. This is a bit too flashy for my liking, to be honest. But, alright, they've just sort of got a basic page with the buttons and then a picture. Okay, I really don't like this. I'm changing my mind completely. Alright, after playing around with a couple of different app designs on the internet, I haven't found something that's totally exactly what I'm going to go for. I think they're all a little bit too, they're trying to do too much. So I'm just going to go for a 3D rendered image like this one here of a mobile phone with my screenshot on it. And then I'm going to have the buttons and the name of the phone on it. And that's basically going to be it. Blank background, that's it. Now, in terms of the 3D rendering, how that's going to go. There's many ways that you can do 3D rendered. These are 3D rendered mockups. If you just type into Google, 3D phone mockup, there's plenty of different services. Rotato is one I've used before, device frames, preview.app. There's a lot of these different services where you just upload your screenshot and then you can create a 3D mockup. I'm actually going to do this in Blender because I really like Blender and you get a lot more control over it. And it also means that in the future I'll be able to animate this any way I wanted to. But if you don't have experience with Blender, I absolutely wouldn't recommend learning Blender just to do this. I would just go with, you know, like I've got here, preview.app or something like that. But I'm going to do this in Blender. Now this isn't going to be a Blender tutorial, so I'm just going to fast forward through the bit where I make this in Blender. Blender, if you didn't know, is a free 3D modeling tool that lets you do mesh animations like this and lets you render screenshots and things. Now I make a lot of these kinds of marketing images, so I have a Blender project that I made with a phone model inside it. This isn't a Blender tutorial, so I'm going to skip over this quite quickly, but hopefully you can get a taste of how easy Blender actually is for creating these kind of images, especially if you can get a pre-made foam mesh or something that you just drop your screenshot onto, which is what I've done here. But as I say, this isn't a Blender tutorial. If you don't want to learn Blender, then any of those websites we were on a second ago will work absolutely fine for this kind of thing. So, you know, preview.app or something like that. And then the final result of this I've got up here. This is my screenshot inside a mobile application and on a green background. So we have our 3D image, and like some of the examples on Google, I'm just going to put a 3D image on the page and then some text on the left with the name of the app. It would of course need to be responsive, so for smaller screens I'll just have this image drop down below the text. I'm not going to draw up an actual wireframe for this. I'll just leave some of these tabs open to refer back to later on here. So let's head back to our HTML and start writing some actual code to put all of this together. This is the fun part. Now, we've got our two images and our screenshot.png will be the new one that I just rendered in Blender. So that's 3D-screenshot. Check that works. You'll see me skipping back and forth between Chrome and the source code like this. I'm just using Ctrl+S to save it and then using F5 to load it back up in here. We haven't got any fancy hot module reloading or any of that because it's just an HTML file and some CSS. But obviously if you were using like React or something like that, then you'll get this automatically refreshing. But for now we're just going to have to do that manually. Okay, this is obviously horrendously ugly, so let's start turning this into something a bit less ugly. First thing we're going to do is go into our image and work out what the hex code was of that background green colour. And then we can set the background colour of our page to be the same green colour as that. Also, a little bit of recessed styling here, so HTML body, and we'll take any margins off of them. This is always good practice. If you really want to do proper reset styling, you can go onto Google and find a template for a reset CSS. And what that will do is it will attempt to make all browsers start from the same baseline. So this is a little bit more than we actually need to do at the minute, but essentially different browsers will have different defaults for some styling. So it could be that some browsers will have margins around the body and that sort of thing, and so a reset style like this will just put everything in line to start from the same place. You don't really need it these days, but there we go, I'm going to put that in. So I'm just going to paste that into there and we'll start our actual styling down here with the background colour. Now for deployments, there's multiple options. You can use things like GitHub Pages, we can use AWS. I've only really got a couple of images and an index.html. So I'm actually just going to use Netlify because for small volume applications like this, Netlify is going to be cheap, well it's going to be free basically, until we get very high volumes. Netlify does get very expensive at very high volumes, but we're not expecting an enormous amount of volume. I mean, this is an app just for one city after all. So I think Netlify will be absolutely fine for this. I've already got a Netlify account, so I'm going to log into my Netlify account, which is linked to GitHub. And I'll show you how easy it is to set up a website like this on Netlify. So if we go add new site, deploy manually, let's just try dragging and dropping all these files. I don't know what will happen, but let's try it. Because this is our website essentially. Please drop a folder containing an index. Okay, so we'll drop the folder. There we go. We'll drop this app index landing page folder. Oh, look at that. That's all done it automatically for us. Look at that. It gives it, Netlify has this thing where when you create a new website, until you put a domain on it, it will just give it a random sort of vaguely pronounceable name like this. Sprightly Slavfogatelia. It's doing it. I don't think we really need to do much configuration at all. I mean, I can just, yeah, once this finishes, I'll set up a custom domain and I'll set up HTTPS, which again is free on Netlify. I think we're basically there. The custom domain I have purchased a while ago. I bought binday.app, so that's in my Namecheap accounts. So I'll go in here and I'll just check that it's actually still in here. Domain list, there we go. Here we go, there's binday.app, let's manage that. And what we're going to do for this, there will be a guide on Netlify's website, but what we're probably going to do is change the name servers to point to Netlify and then let Netlify manage this domain for us. Here we go, set up a custom domain on Netlify. So our domain is going to be binday.app. Verify that. Oh, okay. Oh, here we go. These are the name servers. So I'm going to take these name servers here. I'm going to point these to Netlify. This is a bit of a crash course of how DNS works without me actually telling you how DNS works. So what I'm doing here is I'm making it so that my domain name on Namecheap, when you try and resolve this domain name, you will go to this nsonoe.net, which is a domain name server, I imagine. I've never been here before, but there we go. This will be some kind of name server, NS1. And then Netlify will have a setup with them that says, I know what about this domain. This domain is something on a Netlify site, and it will resolve to one of Netlify's domain names in here. So we just need to give this a little bit of time, and it should just work. Allow 24 hours for the changes to propagate. So yeah, what I will actually do is, because the app is called Sheffield Binday, what I want to do is have sheffield.binday.app and have Netlify manage that for me, and that's going to be the one that I send out. That's just a vanity thing. I just think that looks a bit cooler because it is called Sheffield Binday in the App Store, or Binday Sheffield. So that's a nice little thing there. So that's us done. I'll check the code for this into GitHub and I'll put it on the train to code GitHub repository, and there'll be a link in the video description below. You can visit sheffield.binday.app to see this live, and if you live in Sheffield, then download the app. But importantly, if you like this video, then please subscribe to my channel and check out my other videos. If you've got any feedback or you want to point out that there's something that I might have missed during this, then please leave a comment and I'll get back to you. But for now, that's all for this video. My name's James Charlesworth, and I'll see you in the next one.